Does she
Mitchell
need any
Romolo.
introduction?
I
Does she
don't
need any
really.
introduction?
I don't think so. Not
Yeah. Well, we're going to do an introduction anyway because we can. It's somebody that we are very privileged to be able to call not just a colleague, a Qualitex colleague, but also a friend too. Somebody that's inspired us for years, and
Continually to do so. No pressure there.
yeah, she was one of the first people that actually inspired us into the industry in the first place because
So technically, if we irritate you,
it's your fault.
yeah,
It's Sue's fault because
Yep.
Sue do voodoo.
who
Yeah.
does do voodoo?
Because when we first came onto the Qualitex stand at Spring Fair many years ago, Sue was there demonstrating how to make a 3-foot gumball.
Yep.
And it was like magic to us. It literally magic
it.
to us.
I mean, balloons and gadgets. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty
awesome. Yeah, there was Dr. Bob Armstrong as well, another instructor that's going to be on the show at some point. He was there showing to do stuffing balloons, which again amazed us too. And Sue was there demonstrating to do gumballs, all on that same Qualitex stand at the Spring Fair them years ago.
Pretty awesome. So yes, so we do have a live link up. It's active now. I wasn't sure if it was, but it is. We've got there.
It's
We've
a
got
live
it.
link up to the house.
So we're going to do that now. I'm going to pass it over. Yes, we good?
Yeah,
let's go for it.
let's go.
Here we go. There we go.
Oh, interesting.
There's a rainbow.
I don't really. No, I do.
I recognise that tone.
Hi, are you here for the Q Corner convention? Welcome, thank you for coming and come inside. Milo, come. This is Milo, he's my dog. Milo will be joining us for the class as well. If you'd like to come through and take a seat, we'll get started as soon as possible.
Hello.
Thanks for inviting us into your home there, Sue. Oh, we've just lost some audio there. We just have a little...
Audio technicality. Why do we have an audio technicality? Sue, can you hear us now?
I can.
There we go. It just cut out on me there. We've got you back.
I have nothing in my ear.
Perfect.
Yes, well, I can hear Sue now.
I know where it is.
Keith has an audio technicality.
I have an audio
So we tried to fix it, but it's actually Keith, not anything else.
That's because it's that time of the day again that I should have done this during the break. Sorry, guys, my mistake.
Are we having a helper with Milo as well then today, are we, Sue?
Yes, I better forewarn you that you may hear some interruptions during the class. Milo's a little confused about what's going on in his home.
Well,
So
all these delegates,
if you
Sue.
hear, I know, I can see everybody lined up there. It's amazing. Everybody's got a front row seat. It's awesome.
Fans.
And there's all my
Absolutely.
best friends there. It's incredible.
That's it. Milo's going, oh, tummy rubs from several hundred delegates.
Sorry
I
about that,
know,
guys. That was
he's,
me. I got confused as well. It was my battery pack decided at that point that it was going to it was it was going to die.
We have learned that tiredness disconnects the logical thinking. Just saying.
I'm not tired.
well, that must mean I'm tired all the time then.
Yeah, I understand. We know, yes.
Yeah.
So, Sue, thank you for inviting us into your home. This has
No,
been-
thank you for coming.
I just want to ask a question as well, Sue, because this kind of convention is kind of one of a kind, and you probably is one of the instructors that's been to the most conventions over the years as well. How does it feel to you for something so new?
It feels incredible. I think, as I've said a couple of times today, I think this is ballooning history. Everything, I mean, I'm just in awe of all the instructors, of what they've, their classes so far, and I'm sure all the classes afterwards. And, the job that you guys are doing is awesome. I mean, it's just technically incredible that you're actually managed to do this, and, hats off to to everybody involved. I know that Susan and Evie have been a huge part of this, but there are so many people in the background as well. You know, I'm seeing all the translation going on, and you know, it's incredible. So I think this really is, you know, it will go down in history as being just the most phenomenal convention ever. And you know, it's opened the opportunity for people who haven't been able to go to a convention before, and you know, they're actually experiencing what a convention's all about. I mean, obviously they're not getting the opportunity to do the networking side, although I can see some networking on the conversation.
Yes, I think actually
it is there.
Yes. Yeah,
it is. But and no, the atmosphere. I mean, you wouldn't think that you could actually get that atmosphere just from sitting at home or sitting in front of your laptop, but you really do. You know, it's incredible. And you know, I watched Nicolette's class this morning, and it was so inspirational and really uplifting. You know, these are incredible, you know, unprecedented times. You know, nobody's ever experienced anything like this before, and she gave some really, really good messages during her class.
I think what's interesting about that one, Sue, is sometimes at the conventions, because you're so busy and, you know, your energy levels sometimes drop.
You also have to choose which class you're going through.
And you're fighting for deciding which one you might do. And sometimes, quite often, you don't always pick the ones you need to do. You pick the ones you want to do, and you miss those gems. And with an event like this, you get to do everything. It's all there. So. And
you know, as an instructor, you know, we're always prepping or preparing, you know, teaching our classes. So for me, you know, seeing another instructor is pretty rare. So I am so loving watching other instructors at work and seeing what they're doing.
We've seen more networking now for instructors for this event. We've seen more instructors in the chat, pre-class, post-class, other people's classes, just sharing and talking and helping, and we don't get that opportunity at a you know, a typical event. So that's what we've noticed, and think that's absolutely
incredible. Just seen there as well as Debbie McGill's in the chat. She's another lady that had a massive effect on our business as we come through, especially as we've come through from the instructor ranks.
Although you did do her name wrong.
Debbie McGill. You said Debbie McGee. I didn't say what I said.
Debbie McGill.
Debbie McGill. Boom, boom, boom. Debbie McGill.
Debbie and I should actually be in Sweden today, and we should actually be teaching over there. So to everybody in Sweden, I'm sorry we're not there, but hopefully this will make up. You know, I'm sure it will make up 1,000-fold.
Yep, you're there now.
Yes, technically, but not delivering the class that we should have been delivering. But you know, they're getting, you know, an amazing opportunity to see over 100 instructors. So that's really fantastic.
There certainly are. Well, we have got well over 500 people who are on this front row, Sue, that are probably quite desperately wanting to talk to you directly rather than us being your way. So I think with that in mind...
Just before you start, though, John said that he would make a cup of tea for everybody that came. So, John, that's 547, sorry, 549, because you got to include us as well.
Milk, no sugar, please.
Sorry, that's just gone up, and it's just gone up again. It's just... make tea. You just make tea.
But I do have something very exciting to say, that we have now reached over 18,000 subscribers to this channel.
We've done it!
Yay!
Yes!
Yay!
Fantastic.
So congratulations. Guys.
Thank you for that update, Sue. Yes, we haven't had a chance to look.
Thanks, Sue. And thank you guys so much. That's 18,000 entries into the chance to win the premium balloon accessories twin air sizer. So good luck. One of you.
Yes, and so if you don't even know what you've just entered for, if you've just subscribed, Sue will be demonstrating one there in her segment now. So that's fantastic. Look at that. Yes.
Can we make it a 20k? That's Eve's dream to make it a 20k. And you see how hard she's been working. Make that dream come true for Evie, please.
Yes. So thank you very much for that. So we'll leave you be. If you need us, you know where we are.
Right here.
Okay. Absolutely.
Super. Right, over to you, Sue. Thank you.
Okay, guys, enjoy something very special.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for coming and welcome to our home. As you know, I've got John here, I've got Milo here. So if Milo barks, I apologise, but you know, it is his space, and unfortunately, you know, he does get distracted now and again. Just before I start, you've probably noticed that I've got quite an array of equipment on the table with me. John actually works for Premium Balloon Accessories, so I'm in a very fortunate position where I can actually get to use and play with all the equipment. So if you do have any specific questions on any of this equipment, I will happily answer, or we can answer those later on for you. The only machine that isn't actually plugged in at the moment is the new Premium Smart Sizer, because that's a helium piece of equipment, and unfortunately we don't have helium in the house, so I can't demonstrate that one. Just so you notice, if any of these lights are flickering, it's purely to do with the camera. They don't normally flicker. It's just something to do with the recording of the equipment and the lights on it. So I will be using some of the equipment, but if there's anything specific, please just shout, and as I said, John will hopefully answer for you as he is sitting with his computer. So what's today all about? Well, I've got 90 minutes to share with you, well, probably around that, some airfield designs. Obviously, air designs are good to do because obviously the problems that we've been experiencing with helium. The other great thing about airfield designs is that they are long lasting as well. And so I'm going to start off with something quite simple, but it's a design that actually is quite special to me because there is a little bit of a story behind it. The story is that I was asked to make a design for a lady who was reaching her 100th birthday, and they wanted something that she could take with her on a little trip. So obviously I had to consider all the different implications that went with that, thinking about would it last long enough, would she have enough space for it, and something that would mean something to her. So let me just start the design and we'll go from there. So this is what I call a board design. I'm actually going to make it on a cake board. This is slightly bigger than I would normally use. This is a 16-inch cake board. Generally, I tend to work with 11-inch cake boards, but unfortunately, as we know, we're not really allowed to leave unless it's an absolute necessity. So I haven't had the opportunity to go and get lots of different accessories that I needed. So I'm working with what I've got. So I could work with it just as it is, but it looks like a cake board. So what I want to do is bring a little bit of balloon life to it. So the first thing I've done is I've actually taped, it's not very easy to see, but I've just taped all around the edge using a very strong double-sided tape. So I'm just going to lift off the last few pieces. I just sort of prepared earlier. And so they don't actually join, but there's no real gaps between them because you want to be able to pull a balloon onto it so it's really nice and tight. So I can cover that board with a foil balloon, and I'm going to use just a plain one for this. This is a very simple, elegant design, and I'm going to use the rose gold 18-inch round. And I know you're all going to suddenly cry because I'm going to cut it, but it's actually a really good thing. So, and this will allow you to cover two boards with this. So I've just cut the neck off, and then if I lay it down on the table, I can just take my scissors and just carefully slide those around and just cut it from the seam edge. So as I said, this will allow me to cover two boards. Now you'll see in my next design, the one after this, what happens when we put a theme onto it as well. So I'm starting with a plain one. So here we go. We have two halves of our balloon. Now, the thing you need to understand about a foil balloon is that it's not made of foil. It's actually made of a nylon. The nylon is then sprayed with an aluminium coating, and then it's sprayed with a dye to give it it's incredibly strong. Because it's got the nylon in it, it will allow it to stretch. So when we use this balloon to cover our board, we can really stretch it hard so it covers it very cleanly. So I'm going to work on a nice clean surface that I've got here. I'm going to take my board and I'm going to position it in the center of my balloon. So I've got the color side facing downwards, I've got the silver that I can see, and I'm just going to start off by pulling the balloon towards me, and I'm going to really stretch it with my fingers. I'm really going to pull it tight because, as I said to you, there's a lot of stretch in this balloon. Now, once I've just connected it a little bit on one side, I'm going to turn it around and pull it from the other directions because I want to create a tension across this board. So I'm just going to stretch it and pull, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I go all the way around. Now, obviously on a smaller board, you've got more balloon to play with, so it's a little bit trickier with a bigger board. That's just a nice challenging start to my class. Okay. And then when I get round here, I just pull. So you can't see how tight I'm pulling, but I'm resting my elbows on the board and really stretching it hard with my fingers. So pull and stretch. And pull and stretch. I'm just going to pull it against my body so I really can get leverage on the last little bit. And the idea is that when we've done this, oh, I've got a few little creases on the other side. I'm just going to redo those. As I say, it's much easier if I pull it against me as well. I see one little crease there. Okay. And there you can see the board is now covered. And that really gives a lovely mirror effect to the board. And as I said, we can use printed balloons as well, but I'll show you that later because I've got some others to demonstrate. So once I've done this, what I tend to do is I take my fingers and I run it very, very firmly. So it really helps to stick the balloon onto the board. And then I'd like to, at this point, is then trim off the excess. Well, as I said, this is a big board. So to be honest, there isn't a huge amount of excess. But what I don't want it to do is create an uneven base. So I'll just literally trim off these little bits. The other thing I would recommend doing is once you've trimmed off all the excess, is then to tape over the edge. I'll show you, I'll just demonstrate a tiny little bit because I don't want to use up too much time on little tasks like that. So I've trimmed off the excess. Let me take some tapes. Now this is just a very, very strong Scotch tape. I've got the edge somewhere. And I'll just take a couple of pieces. And then I'm just going to take that, let me just hold it up, hold it on, and then pull it down. So it really pulls that foil back down onto the board. And that will stop it from pulling back, because after a day or so, you might find that the double-sided tape might sort of relax it a little bit, and we don't want it to do that. We want it to stay nice and tight. So I would continue to tape that all the way down. It doesn't look very pretty, so if you're unhappy with leaving it like that, my solution to that would be to use a second board and then cover all your mechanics by connecting it to the first board, so you've got a nice clean finish. And something that I also would recommend is that you put a little notice underneath, little marketing notice saying that your balloons were beautifully arranged by, and then put the name of your company. Because obviously the person that received it wasn't the person that ordered it in the first place. And it's a really nice way to actually share that knowledge with them. I'm sure what you'll find is once people start to see designs like this particularly, they'll be very interested to find out where it was made and how they could get one as well. So this is the start of my design. So the lady who I was making it for, her name was Kath. And as I said, she was reaching her 100th birthday. Now, this is something that's very, very interesting. I've actually personalised it. I've stayed with the same colour balloon. I've actually personalised it. And this is exactly what I did for her. And I actually just put happy 100th birthday, Kath. Now, you might think, well, that's just quite straightforward. What you don't know is this lady, A, has never, ever in her 100 years ever had a balloon in her life. So for her, this was incredibly special. She couldn't believe how special this was. It was even made even more special because it had her name on it and the fact that she'd reached this magical age of 100. Do not underestimate the power of personalizing balloons because they really, really are very effective. And personalization still remains one of the top trends, not just in balloons, but across a lot of different products and businesses. So do, make sure that you make personalization something big in your company. So if you haven't invested in a cutter like a Cameo silhouette, then this is the time to maybe think about it. So I'm going to inflate my foil, and to inflate it I'm going to demonstrate the Foil Pro. This is actually a fantastic piece of kit that I've only recently been using because I haven't actually used a lot of air-filled foils in my designs until about last year when I actually created an air-filled star point wall for a client. And this was incredible because it takes away all the fear of overinflating a foil balloon and also for damaging the valve. And that's the most important thing. Now, with this particular machine, you have 3 outlets. You have a regular latex outlet here. You have a high pressure outlet. The high pressure outlet is perfect for filling things like bubbles and any high pressure balloons. And obviously the final one is the foil valve. Now the foil valve is very easy to identify because when you take it off, not only does it say it, but it also has little tiny ridges just in there. And those ridges, what will happen is when the balloon is full, it will push back the air and you'll actually feel the air pushing back onto your hand, so it will stop it from overinflating. The other thing this machine comes with is a little hose. So we're going to connect the hose onto the machine and then we can connect the correct outlet to it. So it's got the normal slide in, and then we'll take our balloon, find the valve, and as you've probably noticed, I put the personalization on the side of the balloon that doesn't have the barcode on it, so we can keep that nicely hidden away. I'm just going to slide that nozzle in. Here we go. There we go. And this has got a little foot pedal, so I'm going to use it from the foot pedal. Okay, so look, it's full and it won't inflate anymore. So it's absolutely perfect for all valves, or for all foil balloons, but also for other balloons as well, using the correct nozzle. I'll be using this one again later when I'm inflating a deco bubble, so we'll just leave that to one side for now. So there we go. There's my foil balloon. And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to just tidy away the neck. And I've just got a scrap of a 260Q, and I'm just going to roll that up so it just hides it away. Because this design will be seen from front and back, although predominantly it will be faced frontwards, we just want to make sure everything's tidied from behind as well. So I'm just going to pull that in, pull that nice and tight, and knot that balloon. Just going to trim off the excess, and you probably won't be able to see that at all now. So there is my balloon. Now to make this design up, I'm going to keep it, as I said, very, very simple. I don't want to make it too complicated, and I'm just going to add in some 5-inch and some 7-inch balloons. So 5-inch colours along with some 7-inch chrome, and they work perfectly together. Now I can just use the chrome as they are, so I'm going to take, I've got a lovely 7-inch rose gold here, and I'm just going to create some nice sizes. Now when I want to underinflate a balloon, what I need to make sure is that the top part of the balloon stays nice and tight. So inflate the balloon so the top part's inflated rather than the bottom part. And then I'm going to twist it. So that's going to keep that latex really, really nice and tight. And just go give it a little squeeze so we've got a nice shape. Now, when I knot it, it's important that I get that knot onto the twist. Now, this is something that I saw one of the Russian instructors showing. It was Alexandra. And he actually showed me to actually knot the balloon tighter than you would do by taking the neck, wrapping it around the neck once, twice, 3 times. And that really holds that tight, and then pull that in. And then I can pull that knot. Can you see? It doesn't look very pretty, but we're not going to see that knot. But it's going to stop that balloon from losing any of the slack on it. And again, what I'm going to do is trim off the excess. What I want to also do is I want to bring in some other colours, but I want to keep the colours very soft and subtle, and so that they coordinate beautifully with this rose gold. So I can take, here we go, this is a really nice one. If I take, I've got Pearl Peach here. This is quite a lovely thing to do, is I'm going to take a 7-inch gold chrome, and I'm just going to put that inside the Pearl Peach. So even though it's a bigger balloon, it works really, really well. Just going to use my trusty chopstick, and I'm going to pop that in, and I'm just going to inflate the balloon, and it's going to create this beautiful, can you see when I squeeze it? And it's, when you're creating custom colors like this, it's so important that you squeeze the balloon as tight as you can from the top to actually show the gold coming through that Pearl Peach. It really, really makes such a difference. And can you see that? I don't know how. It's very difficult. We've got sort of mixed light here because it's still a little bit sunny in the afternoon. So I'm just going to use that one. And the other thing I like to do is I like to put colours inside diamond clear. So here I've got silk ivory, or ivory silk. I'm just putting that in diamond clear, making it nice and small. Can you see at the top it's still a little bit dull? Once I squeeze it through, you're getting that lovely, beautiful, beautiful shine, and that's going to remain looking that beautiful. So I can create a whole selection of bubbles using these different techniques, or my double stuffing, custom colors. The other thing I also need for this design, can you see I'm just trimming off all the excess because I really don't want to be able to see that. The other thing I want to do with this design is make some tiny little bubbles, and the best way to do that is to take 260s. I've got 260s in chrome gold and chrome rose gold. Now, something I said at the beginning of this design was that this design needed to last. Now, because this is a foil, it's going to last. This isn't going to go anywhere. These are double stuffed. These are going to last for a long time. But we all know that 260Qs don't stay as tight as they should do. You know, they tend to lose a little bit of air after a period of time. So this is a little technique that I've been using for quite a number of years now, but it's suddenly got a little bit easier. So the first thing I've done is I've actually trimmed off the 260, so I've only got a short piece that I'm going to use. The rest of it I can use as a tie, or I can knot it and inflate it. Now, I don't know if you remember the other day, Don was talking about in their shop, they have what they call the large high float bottles. Well, this is probably the baby one. I don't know the size. If somebody knows the actual size of this bottle, or in fact, no, maybe I've got the box here. This is the 5 ounce. It's their tiniest little bottle, and it's absolutely great. It's great for the decorator, for us. We can pop it into our toolboxes, and it can be used for doing lots of nice little tricks, which you'll see me doing today. The perfect thing about this is it's got the exact size nozzle that will fit into a 260Q. See, look at it. That's absolutely perfect. So this is a little trick. Don't be tempted to put too much in. If you put too much in, it's going to be a complete and utter mess. And as I haven't prepared for a complete and utter mess, I'm going to be very careful. So I'm just going to put the tiniest little piece in, squeeze in, that's it. All it is, it's just the tiniest. It wasn't even a pea amount. And you can just see, I'm rolling it there. Just going to take my little pocket pump. This makes life a lot easier when you're doing techniques like this. And I think Luke showed this yesterday. He was talking about high floating 260Qs and designs. And we all learnt this from Fiona Fisher, who used to use it in all her sculptures at Berkshire. And basically, it extends the life phenomenally. So now I've made my tiny little bubble. I've got high float in it. I'm going to knot it. And I know with confidence that this balloon in my design is going to make it last for months and months and months rather than days. It's going to stay perfect. I use this technique when I'm doing displays for Spring Fair. The balloons I prepare up to almost 2 weeks in advance, some of them, and they are still as fresh as they were when we get to the end of the show. So it is a fantastic technique. So I'm making lots of these as well. Okay, so I'm going to start putting the design together. It's really quite straightforward. The first thing I want to do is connect my foil balloon to my base. I'm going to leave a bit more space at the front of the board than I am at the back because, as I said, it's going to be pretty much a front-facing design, but I am going to put a few balloons at the back just to finish it off. I'm going to turn it around so I can actually see what I'm doing. I want the balloon to be slightly off-center. I don't want it to be straight up and down. And I'm going to connect the balloon to the base. Now, as you've probably noticed, if you can see them all, I've got a real big variety of different adhesives on the table here. I'm not sure I'm going to use all of them. I'm going to use a selection of them. So I've got Balloon Bond, I've got stretchy balloon tape, I've got U-glue dashes, I've got Elmer's rubber cement, and I've also got a glue gun. So, you know, we've got lots of choice here. Now, for me, connecting this balloon to the base, I've got a choice of 2 glues, really, I can use. I can use Balloon Bond, is one of my favourites, or dashes. So I'm going to just use the dashes just now because they are nice and quick and easy. I'm just going to pull those out. So I'm just going to take a few of these dashes, and let me just make sure I'm getting this right. And I'm just going to put a little line of these. And the great thing about these particular glues that we're using is once they've stuck, they really do stick. That might sound like a funny sort of statement, but not all glues work instantly. Obviously, a glue gun works instantly, but generally most glues take a little while to bond with the materials that they're working with. And I find that, you know, it might take a few moments, particularly something like stretchy balloon tape. Often if I'm using that on a job, I'll prepare that a little bit in advance because I want to make sure that it is nice and strong. And there is a right side and a wrong side to pick it off from, and I've managed to mix those up nicely. So here we go. Let me just position that on the table, on my board, let me get as I want it. Okay, so at the moment it's a little bit wobbly, but that's absolutely fine. And as I said, that's going to just bond as I'm working. So I'm going to just grab some more of the balloons that I've prepared because we're going to need a nice little selection. I'm sure I'm not going to need anywhere near this many, but it's quite nice. It's a bit like playing with flowers. You've got nice things to select from. All right, so as you can see, I've got a nice selection here, and what I've done is where I've knotted them, I've actually already attached some dots so that I can just quickly take those off. If you think about this, when we connect these to the board, we want to be able to push the knot down and then glue it from behind. So the knot will sit flat, hidden away, and then the glue will sit there underneath it. So I'm going to start off by selecting one balloon that I'm just going to place, and that's the one that I didn't put, okay, this end. So I'm just going to take those backings off, and I'm just going to position, and this first balloon is the one that will sit my balloon, my main focus balloon upright. So I'm just going to push that in place. So that one's just going to help it sit in the position that I want to. And then to counteract that, I'm going to put one behind. So again, that will help me just to straighten it up. So let me just take my balloon that I'm going to use from behind, choose a colour, and go from there. So I'm just going to, so what I do is, as I'm doing this, I roll the balloon onto the glue and then push the neck so it's facing downwards. There we go. So you can see I've got one balloon here, one balloon there, and now this is really quite secure. So the next part is really just quite decorative. So I'm just going to take a few more balloons just to make the design look a little bit more jazzy. I'm not going to use that many balloons in it. You'll be surprised at how many balloons I actually use. I'm just going to take, I've got a whole little pouch here of bubbles that I created earlier. And actually it was quite good. By popping them in the bag, it seems to have removed some of the static that I managed to build up, which was a little bit of a pain. Let me just take that one over here. Let's have that one. Push you up there. And just take a few of these. Now with these little bubbles that I make, you'll see that I can make them in all different sizes. Some of them are really quite tiny, others are quite big. So it all depends on how you actually push the air out. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that round. Can you see? So really simple, nothing much. You're not going to put a lot of balloons on here. You're just going to add those. It's almost like somebody's just popped a few little balloons just to add detail onto here. And then I'm just going to do the same at the back. I'm just going to add in just a couple more balloons, and we can finish that off. One thing that I always like to do with my designs is I always like to put just one little tiny bubble somewhere at the front that looks like it's just come away. Just sort of makes that little random look there. So I'll finish with those now. Let's put those out of the way. I'll pop these out of the way as well. So what else can I do? Well, this lovely lady is reaching her 100th birthday. So she's going to love flowers as well. So I'm just going to add just a little touch of flower into this design. Push these. I always start off really tidy, and then by the end of my classes, the table will be just full of everything. So hopefully we can try and keep some sort of normality. So I'm going back to my flowers. I've got these lovely little rose heads. Again, these have got just some really pretty little colours in them. Slight bit of rose gold, so it just helps to lift it up. And because I've used the cream balloon here, using a cream flower, you know, one that has a little bit of cream in it, so it will just complement it beautifully. On the back of these, I've actually used a bit of Bloom Bond, so I can actually have a bigger coverage. Bloom Bond, as Luke described yesterday, if you didn't see his class, is an adhesive that hasn't got a backing on it. So it's like the glue without the backing. So, you know, it is a very, very thin layer of adhesive, and it's incredibly sticky, and it works extremely well when you're connecting different elements to balloons. So let me just take that one in there. Pop that into position, and let's have a look. I've also got a little bit of greenery. I'm going to be a little bit naughty. I'm probably not going to stick these in just now, but I can promise you that, as she says, saying that I might not stick them in, they're not actually sitting in, so let's just use a little dot. But what I will do is, after the class is over, probably not tonight because of the light, but tomorrow I will take some photographs of all the designs, and I'll upload them for you so that you can actually have a really nice copy of all the designs that I'm making today. So here we go. Let me get that one in there. Now the greenery that I'm using here has got a nice sort of silvery tone to it. It's quite soft and subtle. Let's see if we can't get one in there. Yeah, I'm just going to put another little rosebud in there. I think it could really do with that. There we go. So that was just a real opening design. Very, very simple to make, but it's a really beautiful gift to give to somebody. You know, it's very complete. It's very robust. Look, this design will last many, many weeks. And as I said to you, the lady that received it, she had never had a balloon in her whole life. She had to wait 100 years, and when she got it, she just didn't want it to go. She wanted everybody to see it. It became a very, very big part of her celebration. So I hope you like that one. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do another quick board design using the board, and but something slightly different. So I'm just going to pop this one down here, and just going to quickly push these bits out of the way, otherwise I really am going to get myself in a mess. Okay, this is when you miss all the lovely helpers, Peta, Kerry, all the lovely people that work with me, who normally clear up all these bits for me. Excellent. Right, so here's my next design. Let me just grab it. It's not so easy when you're working out of your home compared to at a convention. So I've already covered my board, so you can see that I've used this beautiful 18-inch tropical happy birthday balloon. It's one of my favourite. I think it's extremely elegant. I think it's very feminine. It's modern, yet it's got sophistication to it. So I love the black in it, and I love the colours. So that's the board I'm using. So you can see that by covering a base, you can really bring some, you know, excitement into the base. It doesn't have to be plain. So if you were doing a design, you know, a theme centerpiece, for example, and the theme was football, you could use a foil to cover the base, and you'd already have that theme nicely, you know, already in place. So once again, covered. Now, this particular design, I'm actually going to use a hat box. So I'm just going to use the base of a hat box. These came as a set of 3, and this is the biggest of the 3. They're fantastic. A lot of florists use these for floral arrangements. They usually have like a plastic sleeve inside it, which I've actually taken out. But this is the biggest of 3, and as I said, they're actually great for doing hot air balloons and different things. So I'm going to do something a little bit different with this. So the first thing I want to do is show you that I've actually used my glue gun, and inside my box I've actually glued 2 cups and sticks. I've glued 2 different sizes. I've used the maxi cup, which is the cup that you would generally use for a bigger balloon, so something like a bubble would work really, really well on here. And then I've got the original cello cup, which we can use for smaller balloons like the 9-inch, but I'm actually going to use mine for an 18-inch today as well, but I'll explain that in a moment. So if I can show you, I don't know how easy it is to see, there are 2 cups stuck in there. It's probably clear on white is probably not so great. I'm just going to pass that to John to see if you can actually see them. I've already worked out the positionings for those. Okay, thank you very much. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to position my box, my hat box, onto the board. I'm just going to use a couple of glue dots so it doesn't move in the process. So basically what I'm going to try and do is hide the happy birthday. It doesn't matter if we can see it a little bit, but we can certainly disguise that. There we go. Just going to put one at the front as well. Let's try again. So having 2 at the back doesn't necessarily work so well. Okay. All right. So in here we're going to have 2 different sticks. So we've got the maxi stick 2. This is much stronger and sturdier than the smaller stick, the normal stick that would go with the regular size cello cup. but we're going to do something a little bit different with that. So we've got one size here and one size here. So the first thing I'm going to do is connect those in. Now, I've actually cut this a little bit. I'm sure I'm using the correct one. I've actually cut this a little bit because I didn't want the balloon to stand too high out of here. So I'm just going to connect that in there. And then on the other one, I'm actually going to, let me just have a quick look. I actually prepared that already. That come out, yes. Actually got a short piece of stick there. Now I am with this one, I'm actually going to just use a tiny bit of glue on it, just to make sure that it won't come out. And push that one in. Now the first thing I'm going to do is going to fill this box up. Now you could fill it with lots of different things. You could fill it with balloons, you can fill it up with treats, maybe chocolates, you could fill it up with picks like Alberto was showing yesterday in his, or was it, yeah, yesterday in his class. He made these little tissue picks. So there's lots of different things you could use. You could use, actually I've got it right. Anything, any materials that would work for this. So I've actually gone for balloons, and let me just grab those. And I've made a selection of balloons here using a variety of colours. I'm just going to demonstrate just probably one of those being my favourite custom colour. So if I just get this out, I'm going to get jewel magenta. Any jewel tone balloon is absolutely fabulous for creating really stunning striking balloons with chrome inside. So just going to take the jewel magenta 5-inch. I'm going to take the chrome 7-inch gold. Just slide that on. These this style of chopstick is perfect. It's not as narrow as a a normal chopstick. It's got sort of a wider top, and it's great for double stuffing. I'm just going to take my pump. Actually, whilst I've got it here, let me just show you this pump here. This is the new Smart Twist. It's very new. It's designed for the twisting market. However, I've already used a lot in my classes just for inflating 5-inch balloons, particularly double stuffed ones. It's great. It's very powerful. Okay. So this is, as you can see, it's a battery charged machine. You can obviously recharge the battery, but you don't need to carry it on a charge. You can carry it around without its charge. So the most important thing when you're doing double stuffed with chrome inside, as I said to you earlier, I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again. We must make sure that that top of that balloon is pulled down and you get the maximum color. Otherwise, there's no point doing it. It'll stay dull. You won't see the color, coming through. But look at that. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? And it really does complement this design. So I am going to put some balloons into my box. Now, you might want to use different methods. I'm going to use this cool glue gun, and don't use a hot glue gun for this, because you will pop the balloon and you will get hot glue on your fingers, and that won't work at all. I'm just going to quickly put those in. I'm just going to put a layer of black balloons at the bottom. There's no point doing different colours yet. Then I'm going to start adding some colour. So I've made a nice big pink one here. So let's add that one in. Who says that cool glue is not hot? It's, be careful. I'm just being a little bit quicker than I normally would. Occasionally you might find a balloon will go down with the gun, but generally it's pretty good. So I'm just filling this up. I'm loving some of these colours. They're absolutely gorgeous. I'm getting all these cobwebs as well. Let's put a few black on top. And let's get a pink one. Now I've got some of my little bubbles. because we know how cool they are. And we'll just put those in. Maybe I'll put a gold at the front. Oops. That's the one thing I don't like about glue guns. It's all the hairy bits that go with it. All right, we'll leave that for a moment. Let's see how we're going to go from there. The other thing I'm going to do, let's turn it back around so you can see the front, is, as you can see some of the wording here. Let me just hold that up. You can just see the edge of the wording from the print. So I am going to do like I did before. I'm going to take a few of the balloons and I'm actually going to position those at the base, and we're going to hide some of those mechanics. So let me have a look. I didn't specialize or specify which ones that was going to be. So I'm just going to use there we go. Push those down. Let me find a few more bubbles. Let me use some of my bubbles from earlier. Waste not. Just going to put that one in there. Let's just take that one here. And oopsie, that one didn't sit so nicely. Okay. So we don't need to go mad. Look, there's just a couple there. Can you see? They just look really very effective. It looks like they're spilling out. We could actually add some more, but we've got quite a few other bits to add into here yet. Let's just look at what we are going to add in. Something that I thought would be really, really good, that would very much complement this design, are these new 14-inch flamingo balloons. So let me just quickly demonstrate how to inflate and heat seal these. So for that, I'm going to need my heat sealer. So let me just, this is also another product that Premium has, a heat sealer. A lot of people get very confused with heat sealers, and I know that when I first started in the balloon industry, in fact I remember it vividly, I entered a competition many, many years ago, and I decided to add some 4-inch hearts into my design, and I just couldn't heat seal any of them. Not because there was a problem, it was only me. I just didn't understand how they work. So just let's make sure we all understand. A heat sealer was not designed for a balloon. It was designed for heat sealing plastic. So we have to consider how hot we actually set our heat sealer to. I normally work with mine somewhere between 3 and 4. So let's start at 3.5. That tends to be the sort of average for most people. This is what we called an impulse heater. So what happens is when you put the arm down, the light comes on and then it goes off really, really quickly. So it basically puts a pulse of heat when that light is on into the heat bar, and that will seal the balloon. However, as I told you earlier, a foil balloon is not made of foil, it's made of nylon. And what we need to do is make sure that that nylon bonds. So let me explain. We're going to inflate our balloon, make sure it's nice and tight, make sure the neck is flat. That's vitally important. Otherwise, if we have any creases in the neck, it will actually allow the air to come through. I'm just going to put the arm onto the balloon. The light has come on, it's already gone off, but I'm going to keep the pressure on for at least a further 5 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds. When I release that, it's actually sealed and it's absolutely perfect. And this should be perfect every single time. If by chance it goes down, can you see that I heat seal my balloons quite low? That means that I could cut it and have another go. And that would give me the opportunity maybe to cut it 2 or 3 times. But once you've mastered this technique, there's really no problem in the future. It's just getting that technique sorted from the start. So I'm just going to move that back out of the way. Don't move that again. So what I've done here is I've attached the flamingo to the smaller of the cello cups, and that's very simple. You just literally twist up the neck of the balloon I just can't see what I did with that other cello cup. Probably, oh, there it is. Just twist up the neck, and then you'll see that there's some little slits in the cup. You just slide it on. Make sure you pull the balloon nice and tight. Twist that neck as you go. Keep twisting, and then just slide it back through, and it will lock it neatly onto that cup. So that's perfect. So we're going to just take that balloon, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, because the reason I'm doing this is because I've cut my sticks down, and they're not as tight as they should be anymore because they're a bit squished. So by actually doing that, there we go, and that's going to sit neatly in there. So to complete my design, I am going to use this foil again, which I've already prepared, exactly the same way as I've just demonstrated the flamingo. I've used the smaller cup because I don't want to use that big cup here. I think it's a little bit out of proportion with the size of the balloon. So I have a slight issue here because I need to be able to fit this cup into the maxi stick, and this doesn't naturally fit. So I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to take the smaller of the sticks. I'm just going to push that on. Now when you push these on, give it a little twist, and that will lock it in. And if you're a little bit concerned about it not locking, there you go. I've squished this one. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on it. Just going to slide that in. There we go. We know that's not going to go anywhere. And then I'm going to simply slide that straw into that one, and it will sit perfectly. Obviously, if you want to make sure that that doesn't come out, you could actually use another little bit of glue to hold that into position. But I think you can see how effective that is. So let me just have a quick look. In fact, I'm just going to add in just a couple more bits of detail to this. I've got some little hibiscus flower heads. If you look on here, the flower that's featured on this balloon is the hibiscus. So I'm just going to take a couple of these and add them into my design. I'm going to take one at the base and pop that in there, and then I'm going to take another one and put it at the top, and then I'm going to maybe just add in a few more little balloons just to hide some of my mechanics. Let me just pull away the spider's webs as we go. I've got a really, I can see the bottom of that stick on the flamingo. I'm just going to hide that with that. See, that didn't work so well. Try a bit more glue. There we go. And I think maybe just a couple more balloons. Obviously you would spend time. Another little trick that I saw, a lovely technique, was when I was in Brazil earlier, or last, where are we? I can't even think now. Last year, sorry. And it was just adding little messages onto these bubbles. So if you do have a cameo, you can actually put little messages on here, which is really, really effective as well. So just a couple more of these. But what do you think? I hope you like it. I think this is absolutely gorgeous. I love the colours. I love the use of the balloons. Everybody liking it? Any questions so far? You're happy? Oh, the bow. Would you like to learn how to make the bow? Yes, that was something that I should do. Here we go. So, the bow. This bow I discovered on YouTube, so I'm not going to take any credit for it whatsoever. It was a really nice technique of being able to get a bow consistent every single time. And so this was a great technique that I learned. I had to watch it, but this is me, don't worry about it. I had to watch it at least, I think, 20 times before I actually remembered it. It's one of those things that you just have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. So you take your ribbon and you position it over your thumb and two fingers, and you open those fingers out. And if you've noticed here, I've got more loops than a normal bow. So I'm just going to take my ribbon and wrap it round in a figure of 8. I'm going to go back round again and back round again and back round again. I'm just going to take my scissors, cut my ribbon. This is a satin ribbon, so it's a really nice finished ribbon. Take the ribbon over your thumb and push it through to the other side. Can you see? I've pulled it through. Take it back over the top, and where your thumb is, I'm sort of contorting myself a little so you can see, you're going to take that end and you're going to push it underneath that loop that you've created with your thumb, and then you're going to pull it really tight. Can you see? Really, really tight. And then you just slide it off your fingers, and then you just open it out. And just going to take my scissors, trim that off, and there you go. A really pretty little bow. And as I said, these are very consistent. You will always get the same effect every time. So you don't have to do as many loops as that. You can literally just do one figure of 8 and you'll get just a single loop bow. But I absolutely love these. You could maybe put one down here, but I'm not going to do that. So there you go. So this is another one of my board designs. This is more of a presentation piece. It would be nice maybe to have some little treats or a gift added into the box. This is another one which you can use, as I said, add your marketing information underneath by explaining where the design came from and that it was beautifully handcrafted by, and the name of your business. But this works really, really well. And these double stuffed balloons here are just gorgeous. I think this will make a fantastic photo, so I'll do that. The other thing I might do actually when I take the photograph is I might actually drop this balloon down a fraction. When I first played with this design, actually only came up with it yesterday, I actually had this balloon a little bit shorter, and I've just seen my stick for it here. But because I've glued this in, I'm not going to play with it now. So I'm going to shorten that, and there'll be a less gap between the two. I think it still works. It looks like it's a balloon that's floating, but I think it could be a little bit tighter. So I'm just going to change that for later. So I'll just pop that over there. Okay, so if Keith and Dom can actually put up my first slide. It says Design 1 Board Designs. Have they got that? Yes, no, no, yes? Yep, perfect. Okay, so if you see on there, that was the original Cath balloon, slightly different from the one that I've just made. Obviously, I spent a little bit longer playing with it and getting it absolutely perfect. But the one next to it is also a really cool version using the new North Star jellies. They're just gorgeous, these jellies. And you can see with that one, the board is actually covered using the pastel ombre. And the great thing about that is when you look at that design, it actually looks like the jellies are reflecting onto the board, and it's not. It's because it's the ombre balloon. And then I've just created some little bubbles on there. And that one, again, is just a really cool design. Could you put up my next slide, please, guys? This tropical centerpiece. So I'm going to make a design that's going to complement this design that I made and released earlier this year. This is actually a download that I created through Balloon School Pro, and it's available online to download and learn how to make that that wall and that organic and design and all the accessories to go with it, all the accent details. But the one thing that I never did was made a centerpiece. So this is my opportunity to make a centerpiece. But whilst I'm making this centerpiece, I'm going to do a little competition. And the winner of the competition, which we hopefully will announce during my class, will win one of my downloads. And the download is, if you look at the next slide, is 2 parts. It's one, how to make the wall, and the other part is how to do all the accent details. And then I'm just going to set the question. So the question is, and it's a little bit tricky because you can't probably see it that easily, is how many balloons did I use to make the balloon wall? Okay, so let me just repeat the question. How many balloons did I use to make that duplicate square pack balloon wall? Not the garland, nothing else, just the pink wall. So if you want to start thinking about that and posting your answers, and if we get a winner, well, hopefully the person close to it will win. So there'll definitely be a winner at the end of this class. And if you need a hint, I might get the guys to put up the hint slide as a clue later on. So let's talk about this particular design because we've only got 30 minutes and this has got quite a lot of techniques in it. So let me just start off with the techniques that we're going to demonstrate. So on this design, I'm actually going to make it using this particular product. This is called Plexipol. It's a fantastic product, sadly not available easily in the UK. Currently, there are no distributors in the UK, but there are definitely other distributors around the world. It's actually an American-made product. They are actually one of our sponsors for this event, and I'm sure we'll be able to give you lots of details regarding it. So it's acrylic-based. It's a flat bottom. The pole is screwed in. I've actually just connected it with a little screw that comes. This one is slightly shorter than the actual pole that you would get because I generally carry this with me when I go and teach, and I can't fit the full length pole into my suitcase, so I've cut it down. But this is perfect for what I'm going to do. In the UK, we generally use a product called Lomi. It's not as pretty as this, but it certainly works. But this is my preference any day. I'm going to make 2 different confetti balloons to go with this. I'm going to demonstrate. Let me find my balloons. I'm going to make a 5-inch confetti balloon, and I'm going to make a Deco Bubble confetti balloon as well. Now, confetti comes in all different shapes and sizes. I prefer smaller confetti cut to larger confetti cuts. So I've got some small rounds here, but one of my absolute favourites is this tiny little cut that I discovered when I was working and teaching in Brazil. I've actually got, I think, one of the packets here. It's a very, very soft confetti, and it's very easy to work with. So how am I going to make a 5-inch confetti balloon? So I'm going to use a 5-inch diamond clear. I'm going to stretch the balloon first, give myself a little bit more latex to play with, so make sure it's nice and big. You see it's a bigger sphere now. I'm going to use my lovely little high float bottle, which is perfect for this technique, and I'm just going to pop the nozzle right to the back of the balloon and squeeze it. And I put the tiniest amount in. It's got to be enough to coat the balloon, but not to make it full or soggy. We're just using the high float literally as an adhesive. So I'm going to re-inflate my balloon again just to make sure it's not all stuck together. Now, many of you will have seen these. Some of you may not know what this is. This is, its real name or purpose is a castration tool. Yes, I said it. It will now forever be known as a balloon stretching tool, but it's actually, you can buy this from farm supply shops. I actually bought mine from Amazon, and it literally is a 4-prong tool that will allow you to stretch the neck of the balloon open. So I'm just going to slide that. I've got 2 different versions here. just so you can see they come different, but basically they're the same. Just going to put the prongs into the balloon. Make sure that the prongs go right into the balloon rather than the neck. Actually, I'm going to use the other one. That one's got a lot of high float stuck to it. It needed a good wash. There we go. Here we go. Slide that in. And I'm going to stretch open the balloon so I can get into it. Can you see? I think John's got the camera. Oh, look, I've managed to put a hole in it. That's not so clever. Let's try again. There's always something that's going to happen. I think it was my first. Oh, let's stretch. The first tool may have been a little bit sharp. There we go. Tiny little bit of high float. Rub it around. Okay. And inflate that balloon back up again. There we go. Take two. If at first you don't succeed. So just getting those prongs onto the inside, stretching the balloon open, and then I'm just going to scoop some confetti, which is why I really like this really fine cut confetti, because it really fits nicely into the 5-inch. Slide the tool out, release any confetti back into the bag. We'll move that out of the way so we don't get confetti everywhere, and then just carefully inflate the balloon. I don't want it to be too big. Give the balloon a squeeze, but not too much, because you obviously don't want it to pop, and you get this real shine from the Diamond Clear. Now you'll see that there's some confetti in the neck. There's nothing you can do about that because it will stick there because of the literally not because of high float. It's static. Sorry. So what I do, can you see? Because we've got confetti there. Oh, I'm going to get nice everywhere else as well. I'm going to put a second knot in. So if air escapes from there, hopefully it won't pass the second point. And then you've got some really lovely little balloons, confetti balloons. Now I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to do actually put some confetti into a deco bubble. This is a 20-inch deco bubble. I am going to use high float in here as well. So we don't normally put high float in deco bubbles. You can to use it as an adhesive for high float. For confetti. I'm just going to slide that in. Just putting a little bit of air in it will help, just to open up the balloon. Try and get the nozzle halfway in, and then I'm going to. This is measured for an 11-inch balloon. This pump. So I'm going to put a full pump, an 11-inch equivalent, okay, and then slide off the excess. So as you slide it off, clean the nozzle so you don't get any high flow in the neck of the bubble. Now, unfortunately, this isn't a quick process. So you're really going to make sure that we cover every single bit of this balloon. So in reality, that could take a few minutes. So let me see how quickly I can do this. If I don't get a good result because I'm doing it too quickly, I have got a balloon that I've already prepared, which will help to save some time. Okay. So the other thing is, when you do this, is try and get to the edges. Otherwise you get gaps there. Open it up round. I've done this technique. I use this technique a lot on corporate jobs for, parties, and they love it for centerpieces. And I used it last year for a really gorgeous design that I made, which you'll see on my Instagram page. My Instagram account is just Sue Bowler. It's very easy to find. All right, so we're going to stop there. I'm just going to grab myself a funnel and going to just take my hand pump. So just pump up the balloon until it opens up. So you've got good surface coverage, and you can actually see now how well you've covered it. Just going to take my funnel, and I'm just going to take my confetti, and I'm going to mix some blue and some green together. You do know that I'm going to be finding little bits of confetti in my dining room for months to come. What's new? I actually found a little bit of confetti in my bedroom last night, so it was obviously following me as well. So here we go. Just going to take my chopstick and just push that through. How much confetti am I using? That's entirely up to you. The balloon's not going to float, so if you put a little bit too much in there and the weight is quite heavy, it doesn't matter because it's going to be an air-filled balloon. If it's not enough, we can add some more. So let me just show you. Let's have a look. Give that a good shake. And looking at that, we've got a really good cover, and it's still really quite light. So I'm going to do what I never normally do, is I'm going to put this away, because I do have a habit of knocking the bag over. So now I need to inflate this balloon. Now there's only two ways you can do this. One, with your hand pump, or two, you can use an electric piece of equipment, but only one that has a hose on it. You do not want to be putting this balloon with metallic confetti onto an electric inflator where the metallic confetti can get inside, because it can cause endless damage. So I'm going to change the nozzle to the high-powered nozzle. So this one doesn't have any ridges in it. I'm just going to pop that on to my balloon like so, and I'm going to inflate it. Okay, and that is absolutely beautiful. Can you see how beautifully that's going to go with my design? So we're going to take from my design, or my tropical design, we obviously had the pink background, green organic garland, but we did have that 3-foot balloon with the blue confetti inside, and I think that I'm just going to take that sea sort of element, tropical element, on my centerpiece. Now, how do I secure a deco bubble? So I've twisted it, and you probably saw me twist it maybe 3 or 4 times. 5, doesn't really matter. I'm going to take a scrap of a 260. So this is one from earlier. Just going to pull that on and twist it round. 1, 2, 3, 4, and twist.
Can you hear me, Keith?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Is your opinion?
My earpiece is in. Can you hear me now?
Is that better? Can you hear me, Keith? Okay, we're going to swap earpieces. 1 second.
How's that? Can you hear me? I can't hear anything.
Okay, can you hear me? Try again.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Well,
Yes, they can hear. Can you hear Sue? Can somebody let me know if you can hear Sue?
Can you hear me? I'm just inflating. Yeah, you can hear me. Fantastic. Okay, guys, I'm just going to continue with the design. So we're going to complement these colours. I'm going to be using dual tones again with chrome colours inside. So this is dual tone sapphire.
Yeah.
No?
Again. I think it's going to. I can't get Keith or anything.
They were
We
fully
can't hear
charged.
Sue.
Hello.
Hello.
There's something.
That's better.
No sound.
That's fine. Sue, just talk.
Sound I can hear you, but you sound very distant.
Just project.
I can't. I've got nothing from Keith and Dom. I'm guessing it may be at their end.
Is it? No. Isn't. Okay. I'm going to carry on building this. Okay, because I don't want to run out of time. So I'm just going to carry on building this. So I'm going to carry on talking. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me. If not, I'll just keep talking. So I'm starting off with my clusters. Okay.
Okay, do you want me to switch earpods for her again? Okay, I'm switch earpods again.
Okay.
Okay, tell me if you can hear her.
Yes, testing. Great, yay! Okay, sorry about that, guys. Technology and all that, and that's not my strong point. So, obviously, I'm very mindful of the time, so I just wanted to get this design made. So I've started the base. I'm going to make this organic style to fit in with the rest of my theme with the backdrop. I've taken some colours. I've used chrome inside dual tones. I've used chrome on its own. This one is a beautiful colour. This is actually the dual tone teal with blue inside it, so it gives it this really, really rich colour. So I'm just going to pull that one on, and I'm actually going to tie this one on, and because we're only going to have a duplicate of this, I'm going to pull that right to the back, and then I'm going to use one of my lovely little flamingos and connect that into the base. Now, a centerpiece has to be both-sided, so be very careful when you're doing something like this, that you don't make it just one-sided. For the purpose of today, I'm only going to work on one side because I'm pretty limited to time, and we want to make sure we get the design completed. I'm just going to pull that in, and I'm going to connect that to my pole so it doesn't fall over. I'm just going to use a couple more dots, like so, and pull that in. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to move that one around. I think that might sit a little bit better. Oops. I think. Here we go. That's what happens when you get technical issues. There we go. So, I'm just going to pull that to here. So, I already prepared some of my lovely confetti balloons. I did these yesterday. What you'll find is 24 hours later, they start to feel a little bit different. They sort of feel a little bit crunchy. Don't worry about that. They will stay looking good for ages because they've obviously got high float inside. It just alters the texture at the. I'm just going to take these. Just going to make these into a cluster of 3. And I just want to add these into my base. I'm going to grab a balloon for that. Let me just grab a blue 260, that would be a little bit better. And you could just add in quite a few of these just to create something a little bit different. The idea. Okay, so we could add more of these. I've got some really stunning colours here. I'm just going to bring these out and you can actually see how gorgeous they are. I'm just going to bring all these out of my box. Okay. Alright. So for the top, I'm going to add my bubble to the top. So what I want to do first is I want to take an uninflated 5-inch balloon and slide that over the top. Balloons prefer to be connected to balloons, so they'll stick tighter onto the pole. Also, because I cut this myself, I didn't want to make sure that if there's anything a little bit sharp, that it wouldn't pop the balloons. I've got a cluster here that I've prepared that look really quite good. So you'll see that it won't sit evenly initially, but when we take the next clusters, it will hopefully push it up in the right position. So I'm going to take one duplicate on one side, one on the other, pull that up. I'm just going to lock those. Be a little bit careful because I don't want to damage my confetti balloon. Okay, and then I'm just going to take another little cluster of balloons and slide it underneath. So here we go. I've got 2 different clusters here. Sorry, gigabytes. And I'm just going to push those up until my balloons at the top sit nice and neatly. Yeah. So what you'll see is that it won't make a regular cluster. If you can see that at the front, that's because we've used different size balloons, but actually that's not an issue because it helps to create a nice effect. So I'm going to pull that in, push that up a little bit more. Okay. So I'm just going to take my bubble and connect it to the top. I think I've got one in here. It's actually on blue. I've actually got it facing me at the front at the moment. I need to push all that up a lot more yet. Where are we? Here we go. Let me just pull that on, and then I can make all the corrections that I need to in a moment. There we go, let's pull that on nice and tight. What I haven't told you is another little secret, is that Milo doesn't like balloons. He is currently shaking on the other side of the room, so poor little thing. It's like, what are you doing to me, mummy? Alrighty, so let me just swing that one round, and you can see how beautifully connected visually that is, and the colours are just so stunning and intense. They are amazing. Something else we can add is we can do exactly the same as I did before. We can use those tiny little bubbles that I made out of the 260 Qs, but this time, instead of gluing them on, I'm just going to make these little duplets, and I can just pull those into the design. Let me just do this nice and carefully. I don't want to upset anything that actually is sitting. It's actually behaving itself, if you know what I mean. Something else that I could do with this is bring a little bit of greenery into it. As we all know, I use a lot of greenery on the video. So to actually bring some greenery into this design. So we've got these lovely sort of like palm fronds really, and I'm just going to slide this one into the base over here, and just to give it a little bit of depth around there, like that. And then I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to carefully, let me just turn these sideways, see how easy that is to get that one in. Just going to pull that through. Now, with any faux flowers, you may find that you've got a wire at the end of it when you've cut it, which is what I've done here. You need to protect that wire from blocking the balloons. So you need to tape it over using a little bit of floral tape. Let me just see. Let's have a little look. And again, I will probably play with this once I've gone off air to make sure it looks absolutely perfect. But I just wanted to finish it so you get the general gist of the design. So, did anybody guess how many balloons I've used in my wall? Hey? Do you want to put up the clue, which is slide, it's the fifth slide, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth slide. Need a clue? Can you help me? Are there any questions? Does anyone need a clue?
Okay, questions. Stunning as always. There's loads and loads of numbers come through, so there's hundreds and hundreds of
Sue
guesses.
or John, can you hear us?
Literally.
Okay. So I need to check through. I can tell you what the answer is.
No, don't.
Okay.
Hey, John.
John, can you hear?
So any last guesses?
So we're stopping guesses from this point.
Okay, so
Put it up then.
the last guess right now is from...
No, it's moving too quickly. John says it's moving too quickly. Okay. Did anybody pick it up? The boys, Keith or Don, pick it up? Do they know if there's an answer?
Okay.
We're trying an experiment here. This may just backfire big time.
Okay, so we're going to have to shut it off now. Bear with me. Keith?
So, somebody's come up with the closest answer.
Martha McCoy's.
Oh, okay, Martha. Martha, the actual answer
Thanks, Keith.
is actually 612. If the boys can put up the final slide, and I'll explain why there's 612 balloons. And Martha, congratulations, I will contact you and you will be the proud owner of that download. And now you've got a centerpiece design to go with it. So basically, there were 204 balloons on each side of the wall, but the pink is double stuffed. So therefore, you've actually got white with the pink, so that doubles up the white. So in total, there are 612 balloons. So thank you and congratulations to Martha. And I hope you've enjoyed the class. Sorry about the sound loss for a few minutes, but I hope you like the designs as well. And I will go on to the chat afterwards if you've got questions, and I'll happily answer any of them. So thank you very much, everybody. Are we hearing?
Okay, I'm not with... I've got nothing coming through here. Have you got any?
No, I've got nothing.
Okay, well, let me just call Keith.
Hi, we can hear you. I'm not sure if
we've lost you. Unfortunately
Okay, you're down.
what happened is the battery on the earpods kind of ran out before the end of the class. That's what happened, guys. So it is one of them things, but thank you very much for sharing, Sue. You were utterly awesome as always.
But what counts is everybody heard Sue. Sue couldn't hear us, so that's kind of like a good day for Sue, really.
Absolutely.
That's like a winner. But yes, that was a close call on the competition. I have to say, my eyes were hurting a little bit trying to catch all those answers coming through. There was someone else, I think it was Ross Wilkes, who was very close. I thought they were going to be in for the winner at 6:20, but then Martha pipped it there at 6:08.
Yeah, there was somebody that came in with the exact number, but they were after the call.
It was after the call I got from Sue was when she said she called it, and then that's when I put it up on the screen. But thank you so much, Sue. Thank you for your IT support there. With John, and then emotional support.
Yeah, exactly. So
with Milo,
Sue, if you go in there, can you give us a wave?
No, they're getting no audio from us, unfortunately. So
okay,
I'm sure she'll be in the chat. Tell her how well she did, because there's some fantastic comments that came through as well. Let's have a quick look, because I was going to go through this with Sue. We've got. Let's have a look. Where is it?
There she's waving in the background.
Yay!
There we go, waving in the background.
Like this one, look at this. This was just some of many of the comments coming through. Really, really just nice. There wasn't many questions, and that's because, as always, Sue explains everything so carefully and so detailed, so you don't tend to get too many questions. The only questions that I really saw from people were if they'd maybe not got in at the beginning, so you know what, those guys were easily going to be able to go back in and catch that up from the beginning. I did catch this one. A good friend of ours, I'll have to put that one up. That's it. Yes, Peter, sorry, from Norway, the ceiling expert. Yes, we missed you in the prep room, helping Sue out. But yes, that was an awesome segment, and we very much enjoyed that. So hope Sue goes back into that chat and has a good read through, because there was literally, I don't know, a couple of thousand comments in there. Yes, there was an extra few with the numbers, but that was phenomenal.
For all those that are repeating the same thing that's going down there, we'll just have a little look at it later on and we'll sort it out. But at the time that things were called on our side, I don't know if you guys were running behind or anything, but at the time when it was called on our side, that was the closest answer, I'm afraid. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you guys, because there's still people trying to guess now, and it was closed a good 5 minutes ago now.
It was only when it was live.
Yeah.
And she stopped doing it now. She called it in real life, and that was it done.
Yeah, exactly.
We picked the winner, and I picked the one that was closest to the actual answer.
At that point.
That's the one who gets the prize. But thank you all for joining in. That was a fantastic segment. So that's it, yeah? Convention's finished, yes, Keith?
Not quite. Okay, bye-bye, Sue. Everybody, please, as well, put
thumbs
up in there.
Golden nuggets.
There are people still saying about that. We shall check into it, and we shall make a decision later, okay? We don't need to see the same thing again and again and again. It's just spamming the channel, guys. We will look into it, though. Promise, okay? Is that fair enough?
I think it is.
Okay. Bye, Sue.
Yes.